Hey guys, welcome to the Pennsylvania Turnpike, specifically the Blue Mountain Plaza, which is on the east side of the 4 tunnels for those of you who are just like semi-familiar with the Turnpike. A little bit of a day in the life stuff here for us on Monday, the day after the Steelers beat the Jets up in East Rutherford. We're heading back to Pittsburgh. And one of the funny things that we do, he's Chris Halleck, I'm Dejan Kovacevic, this is Live Shot, that is presented by FanDuel, is that we do all the main stuff for the coverage for the app. We really get into it, all the details and everything else. And then when we start traveling, we start getting into the, hey, why didn't Jaylen Warren play as much kind of stuff?
Yeah, it is kind of interesting to see, what the final snap counts were. For those who give a flying about Pro Football Focus grades, those are out. Everybody's going to have their Monday morning opinions. But it is still interesting, like snap counts, it is interesting to see, okay, distribution of reps. Mike Tomlin doesn't like those questions after the game, but when Kenneth Gainwell plays more snaps than Jaylen Warren on the offensive side of the ball, it's a little interesting.
I mean, especially considering their skill sets aren't all that different, meaning what it is that they can do, the kind of roles that they can fill. Jaylen's a better football player.
Yeah.
I mean, let's. I don't mean to be mean here. Gainwell had a pretty big part in the victory yesterday, but it was on special teams.
On special teams, yeah.
Whereas if you give Jaylen the football more often, whether it's handing it off to him or throwing it to him, you have a much better chance of having a weapon, a real weapon. Now, if there was any indication that Jaylen was being held back because of any injury or anything like that, no. Okay? Just no. I really... Listen, we did share with you often on this show and other stuff, other content that we create for you, that Gainwell was going to
play.
Yeah, he was going to play, and we kept saying that. We also were telling you to kind of chill on Caleb Johnson.
Well, that's exactly what happened.
and then they chilled on Caleb Johnson, like a lot.
Yeah.
Beginning in the preseason.
The thing that kind of stands out to me about the whole, why is Gainwell playing more than Warren? One play in particular stands out to me, and that was the one where Rodgers threw it, dumped it off to Gainwell, and he ended up getting 4 yards. And even while watching the play live, I was thinking, Jaylen gets more yards there. Just because Jaylen has shown the ability to make guys miss consistently, and the numbers back it up. This isn't just an eye test thing where you're like, maybe Jaylen kind of does it, but maybe he doesn't because I don't know. He actually does. And so that's why I'm like, I want to see Jaylen in those instances a little bit more often.
Well, let's take this further, because Jaylen is also a superior, and I say this because he's as good as any running back at this in the game, blocker.
Yeah.
He will pick up the blitz. He will make sure that you don't get to his quarterback. His quarterback got sacked.
A lot.
We're going to talk about that in a second. But here again, they brought Jaylen out there in certain situations in the fourth quarter when you knew that the priority was just picking up the blitz because you knew that Aaron Rodgers was going to throw the football. But what makes Jaylen apparently so part-time in the head coach's eyes that even now that Najee Harris is, in parentheses, doing nothing for the Chargers, that he still sees Jaylen the same way? They just signed him to a big extension.
Yeah, that's the part that doesn't make sense to me. Now, the only thing that could make sense at all is that,
he's hurt.
There are two things. Number one, they might have specific formations that they want Gainwell to be in that and they just happen to run a lot more of those formations because they thought it would beat the Jets. That's one theory on my end. The other part of it is Jaylen's not been, I understand he's only missed a handful of games, but he's also played a lot of games in his career. I won't say a lot. He's played several games in his career where he's been significantly less than 100%, and maybe it's just we're about to go on this entire 17-game journey, and we just want to...
We're holding him back.
Yeah, maybe it's all about preserving his health. I don't know.
Bubble wrap him. He's a running back.
Yeah.
I don't... You might be right, actually.
If you pay him, though, you got to play him.
You
can't pay that guy and then be like, but we're going to treat him the same exact way that we did whenever Najee Harris was here. Which, by the way, Najee Harris, for all the things that we like to say about him,
durable.
Was still very durable, still was a first-round pick, and still ran for 1,000 yards in each season that he was with the Steelers. So he was at least worthy of those type of snaps. Kenneth Gainwell, I'm sorry, he's not been a starting back in this league before.
When we come back, we are going to go after the other blockers involved in this process. Hey guys, if you're planning to see a Steelers game, use the Game Time app to get your tickets. You can snag new ticket deals before anyone if you set it into your app alerts. The app is easy to use. No surprise fees at checkout. You can see your seat view before buying, and you're getting legit tickets delivered on time. If you're not much of a planner, you can get last-minute deals on tickets right up to the start of the event. Lowest price guaranteed, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Download the Game Time app and enter the code DK Steelers into your app profile to get $20 off your first purchase.
Hey guys, welcome back to Double Shot of Steelers. Football season is finally here. We've actually kicked it off. Football season is finally here, so it's time to check out the latest odds, futures, and win totals on the FanDuel Sportsbook. If you think the Steelers are headed to the Super Bowl after a 34-32 win over the Jets, like this guy to my right here, lock in your bets today, because whatever your game, FanDuel Sportsbook delivers the latest lines, futures, and specials, so you can join in on all the action.
You know, if I get to the point where I do pick the Steelers to win the Super Bowl, and I place that bet on FanDuel, you know it's going to be rolling up to my house here.
There we go.
All right, then.
Perfect use of the scenery right now.
The thing just rolled up here. What are the odds? Like, they just knew we were doing this segment. Broderick Jones did not have a good game.
No, he did not. And according to Pro Football Focus,
oh no,
Broderick Jones and Aaron Rodgers
had the same game.
Same exact grade.
Same impact on the
from the
football
Chris
team.
Collinsworth company. It's phenomenal.
Same grade.
54.5. Which, by the way, if you do nothing, you have a grade of 60. So that means Aaron Rodgers was worse than nothing yesterday.
He was
4 touchdowns.
Less than present.
Yeah.
Didn't
do anything. Did less than nothing.
One way or another, we know with Broad, though, that
it was rough.
He allowed 3 sacks. He allowed 4 pressures. And he's just ominous over there. You watch him and you cringe. And I think that alone, I'm not talking about us, I'm talking about for his quarterback, has an impact. Because you have to be, it's human nature, extra aware of what's happening on his side.
Yeah, listen, we go into the preseason, or we get through the preseason, and we're like, there's some optimism for Broderick Jones here. He played well in the last half of training camp. He got over the groin injury, the lower body injury, whatever we want to define it as, and then he looked pretty good in the preseason. Wasn't perfect, still had some mechanical things that were not quite what they should be for a left tackle, but still some optimism. Now all the trepidation's back for a good reason, because now the football games matter. Now he's actually facing edge rushers that are pretty good.
And stunts and schemes that he doesn't recognize.
Yeah, it was bad.
And we saw a lot of stuff happening on that side of the football, and each time you just go like this because you know what's coming.
Yeah.
And I have a couple of thoughts on Broad that have nothing to do with him. I don't like the idea, and I don't think anybody should, of babysitting him, meaning put Darnell Washington there. However, the game is transpiring. The number of targets that Washington got in this game is exactly 0. He did run some good routes that made sure that the Steelers picked up a couple of touchdowns, not 1, but 2. And good for him.
Yeah.
But if he's not being utilized as a target, and he is an elite blocker. He's not good, he's not very good, he's not great. He is elite at blocking. What are you using him for? What are you doing?
Yeah. My own view of this Broderick Jones situation is a little bit more long-term. This is a big year for him. We've been talking about it all offseason. It's a do-or-die season for him, and the reason why is because the Steelers have to choose whether or not to pick up his fifth-year option. This then leads into the draft. If he has a terrible year...
drafted another tackle, Halleck.
Well, that's the thing, is that if you... Listen, if the Steelers truly want to draft a quarterback for the future and possibly want to do it as early as next year when the quarterback class is going to be significantly better than last year's was.
You can't Joe Burrow him.
Yes, you have to be able to give him the best situation possible, and giving a fifth-year option or even going through a fourth year of Broderick Jones when you've had 3 bad years, or let's say 2 bad years and 1 somewhat promising rookie or whatever, but either way, you don't have a left tackle to protect your quarterback, then you start after thinking, or do we use the first-round pick on a tackle at that point?
You go long-term, I'll go short-term. I already mentioned what I feel should have happened during the game, and now I'm going to mention what I feel should happen in short order this season. Listen, you are paying another tackle to be on your roster. I am not here to suggest that Calvin Anderson is anybody's answer, short or long term. But that's not the bar here.
No.
The bar is competence. I made the joke with you as we were leaving the stadium yesterday. Could you say that the bar was, we're talking about grades and what constitutes you did nothing. Would Calvin Anderson have given up 3 sacks and 4 pressures?
You would like to think no.
You would like to think no.
You would like to think that any offensive lineman who's being paid to play in the NFL is not going to give up 3 sacks and 4 pressures in a game, much less a first-round pick that you traded up 3 spots to go get. That's now in year 3. Now, I don't want to write off Broderick Jones' season after 1 game.
But we're not talking about 1 game here.
No, we're not.
Yeah.
We're talking about coming off of a very, very, very disappointing sophomore year in the NFL, which you could absolutely define as a sophomore slump. And so now it's up to Brod to prove everybody, say, hey, this was a fluke. I'm back in my natural side. I'm going to be playing the way I want to play, where I want to play. And first game is a dud and a half. So
just so you don't think we're all negative here, the offensive line had some guys who graded well, meaning most of the rest of them. In particular, Mason McCormick.
Yeah.
And you want to talk about potential sophomore slumps. He's a guy who came in and shined as a rookie. Shined might be a little strong. He was just solid.
Given the circumstances, for sure.
Especially coming in the way he did.
Yeah.
To have him, McCormick, solidify himself over there next to Troy Fautanu, who I think the world of. You have the makings of something between those guys, Zach Frazier, Isaac Seumalo. It was not a good day for the offensive line. I don't mean to portray that in any overall way.
It was it was definitely
but
bad
there's
for the entire
still
unit,
just too much of it happening at left tackle, and it's got to be addressed. It can't be something that's allowed to linger, because the other thing that everybody found out yesterday is that Rodgers is still real, and you need him to remain vertical. When we come back, we're going to flip over to the other side of the football for a similar conversation.
At DK Pittsburgh Sports, we take pride in coverage that connects our city's fans to their favorite teams. Now, that connection's stronger than ever. Introducing our all-new state-of-the-art app. Find expert inside reporting and original podcasts. Check live box scores. Track the latest stats. Chat it up with our community of thousands of fans, all in one place. The new app from DK Pittsburgh Sports. Coverage that connects.
Chris tried to quiz me on the ride from East Rutherford to here at the Blue Mountain Service Plaza on the Pennsylvania Turnpike. He didn't get me. He tried. No. he said, name all 3 Steelers who would have played every defensive snap. Now, it took me about a minute, but I don't think I had any incorrect guesses. I eventually got all 3 of them, and I'm buying you some time to get them yourself here. In the interim, anything similar on that side where you look at it from a participation standpoint and you say, where was this guy, or why wasn't that guy out there? I'll throw you mine. It's 2 words. Cole Holcomb.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Peyton Wilson had a rough game. It was not great for him at all, and I'm not basing that off of PFF grades. That's just the own eye test in the middle of the game. Wound up with like 5 tackles, but sometimes you just get tackles just by happenstance.
Or chasing people.
Yeah, or chasing people, and he can chase people. And
Yes.
I remember one time he did chase down, I believe it was Garrett Wilson. But yeah, it was still a rough game for him, and I understand, he's the number 2 linebacker. I get it, but why is Malik Harrison the one who's getting snaps, and who ended up getting hurt, by the way, instead of Cole Holcomb being the 3rd guy? Because Cole Holcomb got no snaps, and Malik Harrison got, I think it was a handful, or it wasn't very many. But either way, Malik Harrison got defensive snaps, Cole Holcomb didn't. And so you begin to wonder, like, okay, preseason, he looked good, he's coming back, and he's not out there now. So they might not have a choice next week if Malik Harrison's out, but it's still interesting.
Well, you always have a choice between who's your 2 and who's your 3. I didn't like Wilson's game at all.
No.
And I'm not even sure how that parlays into the additional play that he kept getting, unless it's just a hope thing. I would say something similar about Keanu Benton, except that Derek Harmon is out.
Yeah.
Now, Y.A. Black did eventually make it into the second quarter. That was in place of an ineffective Isaiah Loudermilk. Now, who was less effective between Benton and Loudermilk? I'd need some real film on that. I didn't like much of anything that was happening on that defensive line. I will say that I think Cam Hayward was better than the reaction that he seemed to be getting from what I could see, hear, and read from the fan base, back home. I think people are still mad at Cam. Okay.
Yeah, that's true.
And there were runs going to Cam's side, but then when you watch what was actually happening over there, it's not like no one on the Jets side said, let's pick on 97.
No, I remember specifically the very first run of the game for the Jets. Breece Hall, it's a wide zone run to the left, which is, by the way, they did a lot of that running away from T.J. Watt, like specifically. Okay, he's the best run defending edge.
And T.J. showed them why later.
Yeah, exactly. So they ran wide zone to that side. Now Cam gets double teamed like a lot of interior defensive linemen do, and one guy even fell trying to double team him, and he got off the block. The problem is that Keanu Benton got an initial block, which was fine,
and ended up on his face.
Yeah, and
this was on that same play.
Yeah, because the right guard then came over and absolutely destroyed Benton, which then knocked him like completely off center, and then he actually fell over the guy that fell trying to block Cam.
Not a good look. Not the way you want to end a play.
And the problem with that is that Wilson filled his gap, and Queen came back around to took away the cutback lane,
but got stuck.
But because of that, there was a wide open gap because the defensive interior did not hold its ground, and there went Hall for 18 yards.
There's a lot went wrong, and when you hear us name names, take that please in the proper context here. We're never saying it's all on this guy, it's all on that guy. I don't really believe in that in team sports in general, but you can't do this without naming some names, and we're not going to sit here and go through all 52 people that you could possibly name. I say 52 because you can't blame Chris Boswell for anything.
Very true. And even Corliss Waitman had a pretty good game for punting the ball 4 times.
And actually, I can't really pin anything on Mason Rudolph since he didn't get out there. There was one other player who didn't participate at all. It was Calvin Anderson.
Yeah, didn't get on the field.
Who probably should have.
Yeah, I think Spencer Anderson got the left guard snap for the victory formation kneel. So, because Isaac Seumalo was one snap less than the rest of the offensive line. So,
that probably was it, wasn't it? They don't want Isaac going down in that situation.
The 3 players, by the way, you had some time to think about it. Patrick Queen, Darius Slay, Jalen Ramsey. Those were the 3 that were on the field 100% of the time on defense.
And expect that to continue.
Yes.
I mean, don't expect that to be an easy answer after most of these. As well as, TJ, they don't want him doing every snap. They don't want Cam doing every snap. But as Mike Tomlin has acknowledged, there are certain games and certain situations where you're just not paying attention to that stuff. You just need to win the football game. Yep. I did not like a lot of decisions. We talked about a lot of those yesterday schematically. the approach, especially of the defense yesterday from the stadium. And today we're kind of underscoring that there was some personnel stuff that could have been a lot better, or that could have been adjusted to more quickly. What are the odds that any of these get addressed between now and the home opener against the Seahawks?
I mean, they better. And I think that's why the players are on the south side today. They can be given Victory Monday, and they're often given Victory Monday where
Like
they get
off, yeah.
Yeah, where they're off and like not at the complex. That's not the case today. They're there. They need to dig through this
There's
film.
work.
There's work to do from the personnel standpoint, from an actual player performance standpoint for sure, but also the coaches need to go back through, and they need to be going through their own. Why did we design this specific game plan in this way? Why was it beaten? And then look at the Seahawks film from their loss to the 49ers and figure out, make sure that they don't make the same mistake again. And I think the big thing is they just need to be aggressive, especially against the run.
Yeah,
they need to be aggressive.
My plan for the coaches is to find two mirrors, sit one of them across from Mike Tomlin, sit one of them across from Terrell Austin, and have them have a good talk with whoever it is that they're looking at. Because that thing yesterday, that wasn't it. Guys, appreciate you being with us from the Blue Mountain Turnpike Plaza, which, yes, has one of these. He's Chris Halleck. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. Go get the app. Go get the app.